Welcome to Epic Recaps. Today we are going to cover a heartwarming story of a faithful shepherd dog, left behind by her owner at the airport. The story begins with a man named Igor Polskiv, carrying his dog named Palma, enters the airport. Palma is a female dog and she is going to fly with Igor. She is very attentive to the sounds and smells around her. After getting his passport checked, Igor proceeds to board the flight along with Palma. However, the air hostess asks him about the dog's health documents. Igor looks for them but cannot find them. He asks the air hostess to let him on the flight because it's important. Igor needs to start his dream job the next day, and he tells the air hostess about it. She suggests he go to the airport doctor to get Palma's health documents approved quickly. So, Igor takes Palma to the doctor to get her checked for any infections. The doctor finds an infection inside Palma's ears and won't give them the approval certificate. Even when Igor tries to offer him money, the doctor won't change his mind. Igor is feeling lost as he returns. He talks to the air hostess, Nina, and tells her the whole story. He explains that Palma doesn't have anyone else to take care of her and he's the only one responsible. When Nina sees the tears in Igor's eyes, she agrees to let Palma on the flight with him. Unfortunately, the airport manager arrives and won't allow Palma to board the flight without the necessary documents. Igor is devastated and can't take his beloved dog with him. He pushes Palma's cart away from the runway and sets her free. He then hugs her for the last time and says sorry for what he has to do. Palma looks back at Igor with love as he throws away her favorite ball, and she runs after it. While Palma is distracted, Igor quickly gets on the plane and leaves. She sees Igor boarding the plane and drops her ball to run after him. Everyone on the plane notices Palma chasing them, but Igor sadly ignores her. Palma then blocks the plane on the runway, forcing the pilots to stop the engine for a few seconds. When she moves away, they restart the engine and take off. Palma chases the plane and watches it disappear into the clouds. Afterwards, the airport guards receive a complaint about the dog and begin searching for her. Palma runs away from them and finds Tikhonov, a caretaker at the hangar. She hides under a plane, and when the guards approach Tikhonov and ask about the dog, he lies to protect her. Here in another flight, a little boy named Kolya who is peering out of a plane window. One of the passengers on the same plane is a high-ranking minister named Ivan Lisko, who is scared of takeoffs and landings. Meanwhile, Kolya's father, Vyacheslav Lazarev, is piloting the plane and is worried about his son. He asks an air hostess if Kolya has fallen asleep. At the same time, Tikhonov grows attached to Palma and gives her some food to eat. Palma hears the sound of a plane and runs towards the runway. The pilots are ready to land the plane, but they notice the dog on the runway and stop the plane. Lisko, who is on board, is humiliated by the sudden stop of plane and feels embarrassed in front of the foreign delegates also on board. The plane lands safely and Lisko immediately blames the airport manager for the incident. Meanwhile, Palma searches through each passenger leaving the plane, hoping to find her master Igor. The airport manager is angry at Palma and orders her to be kicked out of the airport as soon as possible. Eventually, the airport security captures Palma and locks her in a bus. Kolya, who has just arrived, hears the officers discussing plans to kill the dog. Kolya decides to save her. He enters the bus and frees Palma. The security guards are about to harm Kolya for his action when Lazarev arrives and reveals that Kolya is his son. The airport manager scolds pilot Lazarev for his son's actions and his landing. However, Lazarev explains that he recently lost his wife and is struggling with his mental health. He admits to being distracted by worrying about his son, which may have affected his ability to make decisions. After hearing Lazarev's story, the airport manager tries to comfort him by mentioning that he is close to obtaining his international license within a month. This news seems to bring some happiness to Lazarev. Meanwhile, Palma returns to Tikhonov with her red ball in her mouth. He provides her with a mat under the shade so she can rest. Kolya and his father Lazarev check into a hotel, but Kolya becomes unhappy with his father and decides to run away. He heads to the airport to try and get a ticket back home, but the staff won't give him one and calls security to find out about his parents. Kolya then pretends to be with another family to try and board the plane. The air hostess catches on and alerts security, but Kolya manages to run away and hide in a small cabin outside the plane. Palma sees Kolya and starts barking. Kolya quickly leaves the cabin and runs with Palma. She shows him a place to hide, and they spend the night together there. The next day, Lazarev realizes that Kolya is missing and gets worried. He almost goes to the police, but Tikhonov calls him to say that Kolya is safe. Lazarev hurries to the airport and finds his son sleeping with Palma. He tries to take Kolya home, but Palma stops him by barking. Tikhonov tells Lazarev to catch his flight and promises to take care of Kolya. After Lazarev leaves, Tikhonov prepares some food and offers it to Kolya. He then warns him that sneaking into the plane's cabin is dangerous. Nina, the air hostess, comes over and tells Tikhonov off for drinking coffee, which is bad for his health. It turns out that Nina is Tikhonov's daughter. While they're talking, Palma runs towards the runway because a plane has landed, and Kolya follows her. Palma is looking for her owner among the passengers getting off the plane. Kolya stands with Palma and tells her that he's also alone since his mother left him forever. The following day, Kolya feels sorry for Palma's sad state and tries to get Igor's address from the ticket counter at the airport. The lady at the counter declines to give him the information since it is private. While Kolya is trying to get the address, Palma goes towards another landing airplane and sees a man who looks like Igor. She tracks him to the terminal but gets noticed by the security guards on the way. Despite this, Palma manages to enter the terminal and discovers that the man is not Igor. The security guards pursue Palma and prepare to catch her with a net. In the meantime, Kolya arrives at the situation and acts as a distraction, allowing Palma to escape. Palma's flight leads to significant property damage in the terminal. Kolya and Palma avoid the security guards and find a secure location to hide. Later, the lady at the ticket counter comes to them and gives them Igor's address. She also provides them with directions on how to leave the terminal safely. Here, the airport manager becomes furious with Lazarev because of the harm caused by Palma and Kolya in the terminal. The manager tries to bribe Lazarev, offering to approve his international flying license if he helps capture Palma. Lazarev accepts the proposal and approaches the place where both Palma and Kolya are hiding. Lazarev is along with the dog catchers who are about to capture Palma. Tikhonov and Nina try to prevent the catchers from taking Palma, but their efforts are unsuccessful. Palma is taken away in a van, and Kolya becomes upset seeing his beloved dog being taken away. In the end, Nina gives Lazarev the letter Kolya wrote for Igor. At night, Lazarev reads the letter Kolya wrote to Igor, where Kolya asks Igor to take back Palma and talks about the pain of losing a loved one. Lazarev becomes emotional while reading the letter and notices Kolya sneaking out of his room. He realizes that Kolya is trying to rescue Palma from the dog catchers, and decides to help him. Together, they go to the dog shelter and meet Nina, who is already there. They discover that Palma has escaped from the shelter. Kolya tells them that he knows where they can find Palma. Afterwards, they reach the airport and Kolya looks for Palma beside the recently arrived airplane, but she is nowhere to be found. Finally, he spots her running towards the airplane to check the passengers. Lazarev understands that they must do something to help Palma. Next day, Lazarev contacts a news reporter who takes a photo of Palma and writes her story on the front page of the newspaper. The airport manager is furious with Lazarev for his actions and tells him that he will never get an international license. Their conversation is interrupted by a phone call from the minister who wants to use Palma's story to gain publicity. The minister commends Lazarev for his work and approves his international license. After the news article is published, Palma becomes a popular attraction for people at the airport. As time goes by, Palma continues to search for her master at the airport. After 1 year, she still hasn't found Igor. Lazarev and Kolya are now friends. The minister orders the airport staff to make a closure for near the runway. Kolya feels sorry for the dog since the minister is using her situation. Palma stops eating food. After examining her, the doctor explains that she is going through depression and she will only get over it if she meets her owner. One rainy night, Kolya sees Palma in the rain with a sad face. He tries to take her inside but she doesn't listen. Kolya becomes upset and tells Palma that everyone he loves leaves him alone, like his mother and now her. He gives her his jacket to keep her warm and they spend the night in the rain together. The next day, Palma is happy and active again. Kolya is thrilled to see her playing and takes her home with him. At home, Lazarev receives a call from the department that Igor has come to take Palma back. Lazarev takes Kolya and Palma with him to the airport. Kolya does not want to give Palma back because he has grown attached to her. But Lazarev explains that Palma belongs to someone else and if he truly loves her, he should let her go. Kolya agrees with his father and decides to let Palma go. Here, the minister has called several press teams for live coverage of Igor's return to gain sympathy for himself. Igor sees Palma and moves towards her, finally reuniting with the dog. Palma approaches him, but she doesn't seem to be much excited to meet him. However, Kolya gives Igor Palma's collar and sadly returns to Lazarev's side. Seeing his son upset, Lazarev talks to Igor and asks him to leave Palma in exchange for some money. Igor confesses that he doesn't want to take Palma back, but he is being forced to by the minister. The minister threatened to fire Igor if he didn't bring Palma back with him. Later, Igor takes Palma with him on the plane, but Palma tries to resist and flee. The security guards catch her and make her board the plane against her will. Meanwhile, Lazarev, who is also on the same plane as the pilot, chooses not to fly at the last moment. Despite the airport manager's threats of revoking his pilot license, Lazarev remains resolute and decides not to fly the plane. The airport manager is forced to call in another pilot to fly the plane. During the boarding process, an air hostess asks Igor for Palma's medical report, which he doesn't have. This causes the minister to become angry and demand that the flight take off immediately. However, the manager explains that rules must be followed and that Palma cannot fly without a medical report. Igor realizes his mistake and decided to release his Palma. He then admits to the minister that he made a mistake in identifying the dog. Palma runs out of the plane and goes straight to Kolya, who is still waiting outside. They hugs each other happily, and feels overjoyed to be reunited once again. This is how this story ended. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos.